the worst moments of our life.
Hey girl, hey, that's bad.
So speaking of like worst ever experiences.
That is the worst ever.
I don't feel so good.
And that was my worst audition ever.
How bad can it be?
And we feel that pain is best served funny.
Well, it's interesting. So you only came out a couple years ago with the MS.
I did, yeah. You know, it got to this point where all of my friends were, for so many years prior, were like, Jamie, why are you hiding this? And I had taken baby steps. Like I told my manager and my agent, because it started to get to a point where I would show up on set and they were like, are you limping? Is something wrong? And I was always coming up with these excuses, and work became miserable for me. I couldn't enjoy it ever because it was just
you were acting in your life and on set.
Correct.
So yeah.
Correct. I was not putting in my best work, let's just say. And so I was getting married. My oldest brother passed away very suddenly. And during the course of like that year, and then my family kind of recovering, and then my husband and I, we had a 2-year-old at the time, but we wanted to get married. My family was needing some sort of celebratory thing and thinking about like honoring everything my brother ever wanted. He used to always wonder why I didn't tell people either. And so it got to this point where all of those things were playing a factor. And then my son, although he was only 2.5, would ask questions like, Mom, why isn't mommy running? Or why does mommy always have to play goalie when we play? And, explain mommy has something called MS. It's in her legs. And then I would stop myself and be like, but oh my God, am I going to tell him not to tell anybody?
Right.
What kind of lesson is that?
Right.
Like something's wrong with mommy. It's not her fault. Things happen, but don't tell anyone because we want to make sure that people still want to hire her. You teach your kids what about the world? Like everyone's deserving of opportunity and everyone's different. What's different makes you special and this and that. And like, I was just like, this is fucked up. I can't live this way for myself and then especially for my child. So I went to a hypnotherapist.
Oh, really?
And originally it was kind of to do more about like just kind of the acceptance of myself and like my disease and pain and stiffness. And I came out of the first session and I was like, I'm ready. It was I don't know what he did when I was under it, but it was just more of just like we were saying a lot, like this doesn't define me, but like I just need to see what my world will be like when I don't have this secret hanging over me anymore. So what I decided to do was have it, come out at a positive time, which is when I was married. Like People Magazine wanted to do something about my wedding. And I was like, well, I actually would like to talk about this at the same time. And so they gave me the platform to do that.
That's great.
Yeah, because it's first of all, what an amazing revelation to have with your child, and like to sort of discover it. I just think it's a full circle kind of situation, and it's just the way to go. But it was just so interesting because when I was my best friend is Alyssa Milano, and so I was saying, oh yeah, we're going to interview Jamie-Lynn Sigler, and she's like, oh my God, she's so great, and she has she has MS. I was like, what are you talking about? And I didn't know. And then I go to Christine, I go, I think she has MS. And she's like, no, I don't think she does. So it's just interesting that it's not really, even though you're out and about, it's not. Yeah. I didn't know. No one knew.
For sure. And if you do, sometimes it almost feels like I feel that way when I go into castings, because I'll feel like sometimes I'll walk in and they'll be like, are you limping? And then someone will realize later, and then they'll call my agent later and be like, I tell her I'm so sorry that I said that. And I'm like, it's okay. But sometimes I feel like I'm always trying to hide it.
Yeah.
What I'm really trying to do now is just like own it.
Right.
Sure.
That's what I'm really working on right now. And I don't know how to, but I'm trying because.
Well, I find it's probably a very thin line between this is a part of me. It's not all of me. I'm open about it, but I also don't necessarily care to be the poster child for it either.
No, not at all.
I live with it. Other people live with it, and I'm just getting on with it.
Right. But the thing is, for me, I walk into the room and it's like, I feel like it's all they're going to think about. But like to somebody else, like nobody walks in the room and is like, I have daddy issues. Yeah. Or like,
Right.
I smoke too much weed. It's like, no. So like, I'm not going to walk and be like, I got MS. Like,
yeah, right.
It's just this, I'm trying to figure out how to dance this dance right now.
Right. No, I'm a cancer survivor. I don't walk in a room saying I had testicular cancer, like I have one fake ball. I don't, you know what I mean? I don't do that.
You've told a lot of people about your fake ball.
Well, I let people feel it. I've let people feel it because they were always curious.
So nice of you.
They're curious. Some guests have felt it.
It's funny though what you say about your kids though. It's completely true. I mean, kids, they have no filter and they're just completely honest, sometimes to your own chagrin. Like we were on a scooter walk this morning and we saw this older man and he had a dog and we're like going, okay, Georgia, let's, continue on. And she's like, I'm going to see the doctor today. I go see Dr. Schulman. He's going to see if I have a cough. And I'm like, can we just keep going? I'm like, we don't need to tell everyone your medical history. And he was like,
Corona.
Oh, yeah. He kind of did this thing. He's like, all right, well, enjoy. And he was bring off. I'm like, oh God, he thinks we're trying to kill him.
Speaking of Corona, does that affect your high risk or no?
No. Okay. I spoke to my doctor. Actually, I called him when it was all going on. I was like, am I high risk? He's like, no. Oh. He's had a couple of, because he's based out of New York. He's had a lot of patients in New York get it, and none have been, knock on wood, like hospitalized or anything. It's okay.
Sort of same level of risk as
yeah.
That's so musical theater. Mm-hmm. Still, I mean, obviously you still love doing it.
Yeah, but I almost like, I so hardcore shut it off because it feels like or felt for so long like something I'd never get to do again, almost to the point where like if I do start to sing or like sit down at the piano, sometimes I immediately start crying because it just feels like almost a part of me that I mourn, because during Sopranos, I did get to make my Broadway debut as Belle in Beauty and the Beast, and it's still
so amazing.
Amazing still. And I was diagnosed right before it.
Oh, wow.
And so I remember during one show, I was sitting with Steve Blanchard, who played the Beast, and it was like a point where Belle and the Beast have their back to the audience and the utensils are talking below them, and she's reading him a book, and I told him I had MS, like on stage.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and it was just like a special moment where he's like, my mom has it, and she's doing great, and I was like, okay, and then like we turned around and continued doing the scene, and it was just
little town.
Yeah, exactly. But that was like, I mean, Sopranos is obviously what it is, but playing Belle is still the greatest thing I've ever gotten to do for me. Like, especially being from
ends of the spectrum.
Could not be. Both princesses in some way, but completely different. And I grew up in New York, so every performance there was somebody there that I knew at the stage door, and it was just the greatest 5 months of my life. And so I wish that, you never know. I mean, seeing Ali Stroker, who was in a wheelchair and played the lead in Oklahoma and won a Tony for it,
Yep.
I don't know. Who knows? I'd love to access that part of me again one day.
For sure. I mean, and I think, well, who knows now with everything, how we're going to get back to theater someday.
Yeah.
Maybe there will be, they're doing so many of these like readings and virtual performances. And things. The hardest thing I always felt, because I did a lot of theater too. I never made it to the great Broadway. But, lots of stuff in LA and lots of workshops that went here and there. And then they'd be like, okay, now you're too old. We're going to go look for the young people. Like 5 years to get it there.
Thanks for testing the show for us.
Yes, exactly.
Thanks for showing us what all our mistakes were. But I loved it too. And the thing that I always felt, though, that was the real hardest thing is it's the grind. It's the grind of all of those shows, of keeping your voice, of keeping that schedule together. I mean, that's always, I think you have to live like a nun.
Oh yeah. I'll tell you, I learned the hard way. So before I did Beauty and the Beast, the year before that, during a hiatus of Sopranos, I did a national tour of Cinderella with Eartha Kitt.
Yes.
Stop it.
Oh, she was the best.
I can't imagine.
But this was now my first job. I was 18, like no parents.
Right.
I was like on the road. We were, it was airplanes. So it was like 2 weeks in every location. I became obviously best friends with everyone and we partied.
Sure.
Like partied.
That's how I would do it.
And I, 2 months in, I'm like, oh, no, like, I learned, and I had to be on vocal rest for the rest of the tour. It was terrible.
Yeah.
And so when I was in beauty, I was very rarely speaking when I wasn't on stage, going to bed early, even though I was 21 years old. I lived like a nun, but it was worth it.
Yeah.
And, there's days where you're like, I don't want to go and do this today.
Sure.
But then once you're there, you're happy you are.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's so funny. I don't know. I loved doing theater and I loved the performance side of it. But for me, like the real joy was the backstage. I love that upstairs, downstairs dichotomy. And like, that's where all the fun was happening.
No, like, not to toot my own horn, Jamie.
Believe me, he'll toot it. If it's around, he'll toot too.
I was on tour with Barbara Streisand. Yes, the 2000 Timeless Tour. And that was the best part for us, was the backstage too, Christine. Of
course. You're gypsies. They become your friend, like your family. It's the I'm with you. I think that's why I don't really watch things I do, because so much about it is like the experience I had and the people I got to meet. And sometimes like when you watch it and it gets edited down to something, it feels so much smaller than what it felt for you.
Oh,
like
yeah.
It was, like it was there's so many more pieces to it than like what it becomes sometimes. So it's all about that backstage.
Yeah.
What would be your dream show? Or what of all time, like what show, like of all the Broadway musicals?
I would love to play, but I'm probably too old now, Gypsy Rose Lee, like Louise, love. And the narrator in Joseph, I love that. Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor.
Yeah.
Because she kind of just stands there, right? I could just stand there, walk around the stage and sing. I love that score. My voice is very kind of like poppy. So it fits well in that world. Jesus Christ Superstar, Mary Magdalene.
Oh, wow.
Did you ever do West Side Story?
Never did West Side Story.
Pippin?
I love
Never
Pippin.
did Pippin. Love Pippin, though. Les Mis. I mean.
Yeah. I hate that musical.
Why?
You're crazy.
I can't stand
What's wrong with you?
You're crazy.
Oh, and I had a friend.
What's your vibe?
Who, mine?
Yeah.
I love Little Shop of Horrors was my favorite musical. So I got wig in my mouth. And then Corona. Company is my all-time favorite musical. The story, I loved all Sondheim period. I think genius,
Yes.
You should do an album. You should do an album. No, you don't want to do one?
I did one.
Yeah, what was that like?
The worst.
Really?
You did it wrong. You should do
tell us all the details.
I did it so wrong. It was like that thing where like Sopranos is like a hit and somebody's like, want to do an album? And you're like, maybe, and all of a sudden you realize you like signed your life and like have to do these 12 pop songs and like go and do like radio shows. And I'm like, I'm not a pop star. Like I'm not like a girl with backup dancers. It was the worst.
Do a Broadway album of songs that inspire you.
Oh, that's nice.
That's a good idea.
That's what I meant. Like do stuff that like means something in that realm, in that world,
Yeah. Well, it's like.
Do a cabaret. You know what I mean?
Totally. Like a Joe's Pub.
Type
thing.
Yeah, for sure. But wait, let me go back to the horrible pop album just for a second.
Where can we get it?
I did a music video that my son loves to watch on YouTube.
You're huge in Japan. Is that what it is?
No, you know where I hit it a little bit was apparently in the UK for a minute. Like my song was like a thing for a minute. No, I fucking hated it. It was terrible.
Did you were you writing the songs or they were like, great, no, here's all the songs, you'll sing them?
I did write a little bit, but not really. Like, no, it was so bad. It was like in between filming and I hated it so much. And I just didn't know how to say no. I didn't know I could say no. I was 18 years old and like so confused and
Yeah.
not
What's
being handled well.
what's the album called?
I know my single was called Cry Baby. I don't remember the title of the album. To be honest. I think I've tried to block it out. My husband used to play baseball, and when we met, he always played in the minor leagues, but when we met, he was in like a very low level minor league in Hagerstown, Maryland, and they all have walk-up songs. And I remember one time, to fuck with me, they had my Cry Baby as his walk-up song.
No.
Oh my
and like
God.
everyone in the stands was like, what the fuck
Wait,
song is this? And I was like,
where did he train?
he played for the first the Brewers and then the Nationals. So he worked his way up while we were together, from Hagerstown to the Potomac to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and then to Syracuse AAA.
How did you guys meet?
We met. He grew up in Thousand Oaks, and one of my best friends, Joanna Garcia Swisher, is an actress, is married to a baseball player, and they would train together in the off season. And Cutter's 8 years younger than me, so I don't think anyone thought like to set us up by any means, but it was kind of a thing where like, he's so cute, he's here, Jamie, you've been single for way too long, why don't you just have sex with this little baseball player, and like, you know, whatever. And I was like, no, what are you, crazy? And then next thing you know, 2 weeks later, we're madly in love, and 9 months later we got pregnant by accident.
Oh wow.
Amazing.
So what is your teams?
What do you mean?
What do you love? I mean, you love baseball, I'm assuming, at this point.
Oh, well, he doesn't play anymore, so we needed to take like a step back for a minute. But I'm from New York, so I'm a Yankee fan.
Okay.
But although my house is divided, so my mother grew up in Cuba, but then lived in Washington Heights, so they're like very Yankee, like all the Latina. My grandmother's like Yankee, Yankee, Yankee. But my dad grew up in Queens, so my dad and my brother are Mets
fans.
So it's been a bit of a divide.
That's so funny. What does your husband do now?
He works
in the industry, in the sports industry?
No, so he works for a company called Theragun. It's like a percussive therapy. So it's cool because when he decided to leave baseball, he obviously didn't know what he was going to do with his life. You know, he devoted his whole life to it. And this friend had bought me like a brand new model of his chiropractor friend thing that he invented called a Theragun, and he wanted to come over and experiment how it helped me. And so he started coming over a couple of times a week, and it was really helpful for like releasing muscle tension and everything. And I would move better and walk better after I would use it. And I remember Cutter just kind of saying offhand, like, if you want me to introduce you to some baseball trainers, I know so many of them through the years, I'll put you in touch. And he said, well, why don't I talk? Because they had was like the investor and Dr. Jason, who invented it. And they were like, well, let me talk to my investor guy, because maybe we could pay you like some, freelance to come with us to some spring training places. And now, long story short, he's now like VP of the company and got a crash course in business. And this is what he does now. And that was
great.
3 years ago. And they have like over 100 employees. I'm so proud of him. It's really cool. It's cool to like see, because baseball's different than acting. Do you know what I mean? Like there's truly a time limit on it, and it's very emotional, and he gave up on a dream. And to see that there's other things that he's really good at. I mean, there's still some pain, I think, around it, of course. I mean, he's just turned 30, I mean, he's still so young.
Right.
But it's been beautiful to like watch, to see him like grow and be successful in something else. And
something that helps people. And he's kind of like, I think people like dealing with him because he's not a salesman by trade. He's like an athlete. Exactly.
So
yeah.
He's like, he talks the talk. People like to deal with him and work with him and trust him. And, it's cool.
That's great. That's so cool. I want to go back to like, just fire off a couple of worst evers to you.
Yeah.
Can you remember any worst ever auditions that you've had?
I mean, I feel like they've all been the worst ever.
You're so down on yourself. It kills me when it comes to...
So my first pilot season after Sopranos, I auditioned for this comedy that Jason Bateman was directing for Fox. And it was one of those where like, it was like, I went in and it like went quick, like, yeah, we're into her. We're into her. And I'm like, great. great. And this is really my first screen test, like dealing with like the real testing process, right?
Right.
Like studio, network. So I get past studio and I get to network, and all of a sudden I'm like, I'm fucking nervous. Like, holy shit. Like it was just such a like corporate thing. It didn't feel creative. It was like signing the contract before I walk in the door.
Right.
It was very strange.
Yeah.
And I just bombed. Like, I was not funny. Like, I said all the lines that made everybody laugh all that time, and it was like crickets.
It was like all of a sudden you're speaking Japanese.
A completely other language. And I might have got a what a courtesy like chuckle from someone. And I just walked out being like, that was the worst thing I've ever been through in my entire life. That sucked.
And you want to spit on everyone in the room too.
I hated them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was terrible. And then and then you just know though. Do you know what I mean? If I think back to the ones that I've booked, like before you even open your mouth, there's just like some kind of electricity where you're like, this is it. Like
this one's gonna go well.
Yeah.
And you can't control it most of the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's what I've learned more than anything. And one thing that James Gandolfini always told me was like, an audition is your time. That's not their time. You've got to walk in and own it. That's your 5 minutes that you bought, you own. Like, that's, you have to treat it as such. Like, this is like, you're not walking into their space. They're there and you're walking into your own space. And I try to remind myself of that.
Yeah. You have to let them know that you're doing them a favor by finding someone so they can stop looking. Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's Diane Harden, who used to teach Christina and I. She always said, you have to be right. You have to be ready 100% of the time, because you can only be right 1% of the time for a role. So if you're not ready 100% of the time, that 1%, you can lose that chance.
Yeah. So true.
Because it really is. It's so subjective,
Well, and then also like people, especially fans, I'm assuming, like your fans or an audience or whatever, that aren't in the industry, they think because you were on a hit show that you're automatically going to work all the time, and they don't get the struggle,
Mm-hmm.
And the struggle is real,
It's so real. And it's like you said, I think people have an idea of me. Sometimes they can't get past it. It's almost like, sometimes I want to walk in and be like, I'm not a kid. I'm like almost 40. I have 2 children. Like, I can play the mom.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's, when you start so young, it always is that it's hard to make that leap over into another space, because people always associate you and remember you from being a child.
Yeah. But I've almost started to come to this place where, like, sometimes I'll watch things and be like, why do I know that person? They're so good. And I'll realize they were in something when they were younger. And it's almost like I had like this thing where I was like, I feel like that's going to be my story. 'Cause I struggle really badly with being away from my kids.
Yeah.
But because I tried to be a stay-at-home mom, and I was like sitting on the floor with them, and it was a nice moment like a year or 2 ago. And I was like, I can't do this. I need something else. And so like, I had to honor that, like, I still love acting and want to do it. But it's almost like I had this epiphany when I was watching this woman, where I was like, I feel like that's going to be my story, where like right now I'm happy to work when I can, because the truth is I really struggle with being away from my kids and missing them when they're little. I wish I had more confidence in my relationship with them, that I could leave and come back. It's just my personality, that I think that timing is just, it always serves you right. It's hard to see it when you're in it, but it's always happening at the right time. Right.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's weird. Because for me, I love to work. I've always loved to work. But then I had kids, and it's like I got this call to, go start directing. And it was like the thing I'd worked so hard for, and it's all I wanted to go do. And it was like, yes, absolutely, I'm there. And the morning where I went to leave, I mean, just tears on the 405. I was like, I am a terrible mom. Like, you can't explain it. It's like, you want to get away, but then all you want to do is come home. It's
Of course.
so bizarre.
See, but I'll look at you and I'm like, I think you're such a badass. I think it's so awesome that you
thank
do
you.
all the things that you do and can command a set. Like, that's so cool. And you can go home and be this incredible mom. Like, I'm looking forward to like having that balance.
For sure. And I think it's a good balance to have. I definitely feel like when I have more of my own thing going, I have more left to give on the times that I'm home. But that being said, this has been really good for me because I've had to slow down, and I'm not good at that generally.
Yeah.
So I've had to learn more patience, and I've had to slow down, and I've had to learn to just go with the flow, and that I can't
That's
control it.
the key.
I can't control it.
Jamie, she's just not good at
I'm a
going with the
control
flow.
freak.
She's a control
So am I.
freak.
So am I.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
Well, I'm a control freak too, but like I've been going with this pandemic is making me go with the flow.
You're just making pot pies and putting on wigs, okay?
And showing up at aisle 24 for everybody.
Right. And 25.
And 25.
But I read something that you were on some new show where you play a policewoman, a wife.
Beef House. So
Okay,
do you know
what
the
is
comedians Tim and Eric?
No.
They wrote,
Tim Heidecker and Eric Wareheim. They have this cult following. They're amazing comedians, funny guys, writers. And it's this Adult Swim show where it's like a 90s sitcom, but it's like so fucking out there. Crazy.
Oh, great.
Bananas. And I play like the straight woman wife of Eric. So we shot it in August and September at this soundstage in the Valley. And so it's ridiculous. It's so funny and silly. And I think they like casting people in their things that are like that don't fit in their world. You know what I mean? I was kind of one of those. So it was, and I play his wife who's a detective. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's great.
Yeah, I was
and
like,
it's out now on you can find it on Adult Swim.
Yeah, Adult Swim, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was so fun.
And you have a podcast.
Yes, I have two actually. So Mama Said I started a year and a half ago with my friend Jenna, and it was when we were both pregnant with our second babies, where I think, when I was pregnant with Beau and after I had him, that's my older one, I was I felt like I was a bad mom because I wasn't enjoying every moment of it, because nobody was talking really. The culture is different now. Nobody was really talking and being honest, like, this shit's hard and sometimes I don't love it. And like, you always want to do the disclaimer, I love my kid, but like, no, that goes without saying. We know you love your kid, but like, this shit is hard. And Jen and I just felt like she became that person for me where I could have these really open, honest conversations. And we know we weren't reinventing the wheel with like a mom podcast, but we felt like we had our own voices and we're very different moms with zero judgment towards each other. So we just wanted to create a space for moms to celebrate what we coined as like the pretty and the shitty of motherhood and like all the things in between. And so we have experts and friends like Christine who came on, and we just talk about all different topics. It's been so much fun to do.
Awesome.
And then Pajama Pants. So Robert Eiler, who played my brother on Sopranos, is one of my best friends. And we've had a very close and intimate relationship for 20 plus years. And he is sober and has an incredible story and journey. And then his friend Katzum, who's an actor, who's also dealt with those types of issues. We're three very different people, like living lives, but we're super close. And we talk about everything and nothing and have fun guests. And it's just like, it's a great way for us to connect every week and just talk. And so that's like a fairly new one and a baby, and we're kind of doing it on our own and having fun with it. So those things have kept me busy, especially during quarantine. Like, to have something, even though I do them at night when I'm tired, like it's my only time usually to be able to do it. It's given me something like some type of work. Yeah, which has been nice.
Yeah, no, it's definitely just to have adult conversation for an hour with someone not nudging your pant leg, being like, snack. That's like
my kids are just literally beating the shit out of each other all day. I feel like a referee, short order cook, just trying to keep everyone alive. Where my me time includes like, let me just go scrub this bathroom and this toilet without anybody walking in.
I really have to say, I mean, this is going to sound...
Hey, where'd you get that?
There he is. That's the Walmart
I-
5 a.m.
I-
Add me to your
24.
list of people
I know.
to cancel to, please.
I have an extra one for you. I'll give it to
Thank
Christine to send
you.
it.
I will
You have
send
the
it to you.
children. Yeah.
Thank you.
I've found like a new love of cleaning. I have found it to be kind of therapeutic in weird ways. You know, there's certain things like I've gotten really into the baseboards of my house because I have like a Swiffer duster and I'm like, Swiffer dusters, guys.
Yes.
So good. And like I'm doing all the fans and like
I have that.
I feel like
feels good.
Yeah, it feels really good. You feel really accomplished. And then the house smells so clean afterwards. And
you know what smells really good? There's that like essential oil cleaner thing called Thieves. And if you dilute it down with a lot of water and clean your and use that to clean, like I use that in my baby's room and stuff. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, it smells.
Or you can use Clorox wipes.
Straight up Clorox. I mean, the damage that's happened to my brain just from inhaling that shit.
I know.
Well, then there's also the Lysol.
Okay, now you're just bragging.
Now you're just showing off.
Now you're just bragging with all your products. I mean,
but you can also have a lemon scent.
You know, that's the thing though. It's like,
lemon.
I know it's taking away the viruses, but I'm also sort of like anytime I spray it, it's like
Isn't
I've
this what we weren't
the
supposed
house.
to be doing? Right.
Yeah, but I was living in Chateau Corona. Remember, my roommate had it. I didn't know if I had it yet. I didn't know.
Of course.
I was freaking out.
You were practically huffing it.
Yeah.
Injecting it inside the body.
I know you keep in touch with, you said, with your podcast mate that was on the show with you. Do you keep in touch with like Edie and everyone else on the show, or?
Edie here and there, Drea, we talk, Aida and I speak, Aida Chituro and I speak. Mm-hmm. I just did Michael Imperioli and Steve Sharippa's podcast, and we keep in touch.
I saw that they had one. Yeah, it's hilarious.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we all keep tabs on each other and all support each other. You know, it was just really, it was really a special thing because, I mean, even though I was the young person, like it was a job for everyone. It wasn't as like super tight as sometimes, you know, casts can be, but it was tight in the sense of like, I got your back. Whatever you do, I will show up at that premiere for you. Like if you need anything, you will never hesitate to call me. Like it's almost like that. Like we're bonded for life in that, like we all got to do something really fucking cool together, and we will always show up no matter how much time has passed, if we haven't spoken, nothing. Like there's no like will you do my podcast? Yes. Like it's just it's all of that. It's like those are my people, no matter how much I talk to them.
Yeah.
And there was talks of like a movie, right? Or,
well, it was supposed to come out, and I think and my son's walking in, they're delaying it till next year. So it's a prequel.
Okay. It's a prequel, right?
Oh, cool.
That's what I thought, yeah.
It's funny because like when your kids get older, you know, and they realize what you do for a living, you'll at some point probably have to come to grips with like, do I show them the show? Do I not show them the show?
Probably high school.
Yeah, I think high school is probably, but so I was flipping through Hulu, and Step by Step is on Hulu, and I got like the wild hair of like being like, I just put it on because why not? And my daughter literally goes like, the roller coaster is going, and she goes, oh, Mom, not this one.
You were the coolest, by the way.
Thanks.
I loved that show, and you were the coolest. He wants to say
tell my daughter because
Bo.
Hey, Bo. Nice.
I dyed his hair blue, and it's coming out a little bit. Can you come up a little bit?
That's what all cool kids are doing.
Yeah.
All kids are dyeing their hair. I love it.
How old is Bo?
Bo, how old are you?
6.
And is he want to be in the entertainment business as well?
You know, the other day he said to me, I think I want to be an actor, but the kind of actor that plays sports, like in Mighty Ducks. I was like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
We're watching a lot of like Rookie of the Year and Mighty Ducks right now.
Yes. We had
I'm almost done. Okay.
Yeah, Aaron Lord, right?
Aaron Laura, our good acting class friend, Aaron Laura in Mighty Ducks.
Oh my
Mighty
God.
Ducks, yeah.
Well, that's on heavy rotation over here.
It is. Jamie, thank you so much for coming on the pod.
Oh my God. It was so nice to talk to you guys. Thank you for having me and giving me an excuse to run away to my bedroom.
No problem.
In the middle of a day.
Tell all of our fans where they can find you on social and your podcasts.
Podcasts are Mama Said and Pajama Pants, and then I'm just Jamie-Lynn Sigler on Instagram.
And what's the show called on audio? I mean, on Adult Swim?
It's called Beef House.
Beef House.
Cool.
If
I
you
can't
find
wait to
it,
watch
you'll
it.
know. You'll know. It's you are not on drugs. You are just watching Beef House.
Sounds like my kind of night.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thanks for listening, guys. I am Christine Lakin. You can find me at Yo Lakin.
And I'm Alaa Khaled, and you can find me at Alec Led. Don't ask.
We are Worst Ever Podcast. You can find us at Worst Ever Podcast and email us at worsteverpodcast@gmail.com. Tell us some of your worst ever stories and how you are getting through this quarantine. And we'll hear you next time. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.